Alright, I'm back. Let's do this. Another My CD Collection part 37, if I'm not mistaken. Thanks for joining me. I hope you're liking this. We're going to be listening to Galder with Morkegang. So I think that's Norwegian, but Galder is actually from Georgia, if I'm not mistaken. Somewhere in the southern United States. This came out on Darker Than Black. 2013, 14, somewhere around there. It's really good stuff. It's kind of slow to mid-paced, and it's really loud right now. But it really harkens to some of the better, more like cold, minimalistic, and almost hypnotic elements of Burzum's albums. Yeah, Galder, great stuff. I can't believe nobody talks about Galder. So, alphabetically, we're going through the D's. Can you believe it's been 37, 30, whatever videos, and we're only in the fucking D's? Alright, so we're going to start off with Devin Townsend. I love Devin Townsend, but the man is way too prolific. I cannot keep up with his music, and so I don't. I've got a couple of his albums, so here we go. This is Physicist. I picked this up because it's got Gene Hoglan on drums, and this was... like, I had thought he was done working with Gene Hoglan on drums, and Hoglan is one of my favorite drummers in metal. So when I found out that he was playing on another one of Devin's albums, I thought I would definitely keep an eye out for it. This is I don't know, Devin's albums kind of wander around in style, and I think all these guys are also, this is basically the lineup of Strapping Young Lad, playing a style a lot less brutal, a lot less just furious, I guess. So this is really good stuff. If you're into Strapping Young Lad at all, or, you know, a fan of Devin Townsend, he kind of seems like his style is kind of divisive. I feel like a lot of people either love him or hate him, and I really don't understand why that is the case, honestly. I don't understand how you could really hate him. He's immensely talented as a vocalist and a songwriter and a producer, especially. And he works with some amazing musicians and writes pretty good songs. And also I think he does a good job of staying fresh and trying out new things. There's even a song he did on one of his albums a couple albums ago, probably fucking 20 albums by now, where Isan from Emperor sang on it. And the song is just incredible. And it just shows that the guy is super, super talented. Now, I haven't listened to this in 10 years or so, maybe, so I couldn't really describe this in much detail, but I think that's enough. But we've also got Ocean Machine here. And this was one of my earliest exposures to Devin Townsend. Now, this came out in 2001 when he wasn't putting out 5 records a fucking day, it seemed like, these days. And this is really, really good. And I think this is maybe the first time he did something solo. And it takes a lot of the ideas, I think, that were born in Strapping Young Lad, and kind of makes them his own. There's a lot of the sort of like oceanic, which is the band is called Ocean Machine, Biomech. I don't know. It's kind of like, I'm not sure if the band or the project is called Ocean Machine, but it's under his name, or it's kind of one of those more confusing things. But it definitely has that sort of oceanic sort of quality to it that Strapping Young Lad had a lot of too. Only it's not as intense. And honestly, the riffs and the songwriting and the vocals and the huge layering of vocals on this reminds me more of something like a more modern arena rock kind of thing, or arena metal maybe kind of deal. And that's definitely, I think, where he was trying out his footing with that style, using his vocals and learning how to use his studio to make things just sound so infinitely grandiose in style by using those. I think I heard somebody say once that whenever he does a backing chorus on his own tracks, and this is a fact that was probably 15 years old or so, but he never did like less than 100 layers of his own vocals on top of something. So that's Devin. He just makes everything sound infinitely huge, and it's really fun to hear him play around. Now this is Infinity. This is way more playful than a lot of his metal stuff. There definitely is some metal here and there, but this is just Devin doing his own thing. This is a CDR. My roommate had left this in the garbage because he lost the disc, so I just decided to burn a copy of it. But yeah, this has got the song Christine on it. I really like that track on it. Look at this. Dude is hilarious. I actually got to hang out with him and Gene Hoglan one time back in the day. Did I talk about... Oh yeah, Galder. Never mind. I did. So yeah, that's Devin Townsend. I don't love him. I don't hate him. But Infinity is really good. So next we've got... how the hell would you pronounce this? Daubgers? I don't know. I guess I would care more about pronouncing that correctly if this were a better album. Packaging on this is super, super cool. But this is just some really grim, straightforward, pagan, anti-Christian kind of black metal. Really not inventing anything new. But it's just kind of good. I'm not really sure where the guy is from. I'm sure it's a solo project, and I'm sure he's probably sketchy or something like that. Old Times of Heathen Forest is the name of this album. My buddy gave me this a couple of years ago, maybe 2 years ago or so, so I haven't really put it on all that much. I actually just put it on before I shot the video, and yeah, it's just kind of there. It's really unremarkable, but sometimes, you know, that's the way I want my black metal to be. So as I've been saying in a lot of my videos, maybe someday I'll pick it up and it'll be exactly what I'm in the mood for, but not really lately. Next, we've got a demo from a band called Dicoria. This is a demo that came out in 2002. It's a CDR. The label is called Maggot Sandwich. And they've got a really long web address that you can visit. I don't know if I've ever listened to this. I probably picked it up at Metal Haven in Chicago many years ago, or maybe even Cheapo or something like that. But I don't remember anything about it. I'm guessing it's probably real boring, by the numbers, gory death metal. Next, we've got Diabolic, their debut EP, The Diabolic. I didn't realize that what I was confused about this band until I looked this up. Their new album has basically the same album cover on it, and it's called Wedding the Grotesque. Now, I don't know if maybe these songs are also on that debut full length or whatever. Kind of don't care because I'm not really crazy about this band, but the reason I picked this up is because Necrolord Christian Wallen, this is his band, and really weird that the album artwork of one of the most famous metal album cover painters is so boring and forgettable and whatever, and the fact that they used it twice. What the fuck is up with that? So anyways, Necrolord and the other guy in this band, is it Johan Ostberg, something like that. The Grotesque broke up in like 91 or 92, and from that we have Tompa going to At the Gates. We have what's his name doing Arcanum, and then the two other guys formed. Well, they did Liars in Wait for a minute, and then they started doing this Diabolic. And the Diabolic is quite a departure from the Grotesque and from Liars in Wait. This is more of like a gothic rock sort of metal sort of thing. Think like Tiamat or Catatonia or those bands back in like 94, 95 when this came out. I don't know, 96 or something like that. But this is definitely along that sort of style. This came out on Listenable Records. And I probably picked this up in a used bin somewhere. They probably would cite Fields of the Nephilim for an influence, if that helps you understand anymore. But yeah, it's just kind of average, sort of gothic rock kind of stuff. Mid-era Amorphous is probably another strong comparison. Next, we've got a band that I'm kind of new to, but I got into this band when Eric Bauer played this album in one of his videos. The band is called Diabolical Messiah, and And this album is Satantoton Demon Victory. Now these guys are Chilean, I want to say. Maybe Argentinian. One of those South American countries that you don't hear a lot of bands coming out of. But it's got a bunch of like Chris Moyen-esque sort of artwork on it. But, you know, my South American kind of stuff I don't really go a whole nuts for. But this fucking floored me. I couldn't stop listening to the album over Eric Bauer talking in his video. So I was just like, all right, I'm going to listen to Eric and I'm going to buy this fucking record. And it just fucking pummels. The vocals in this band. I'm not ordinarily all that impressed with vocals in a band. But this stuff, this guy sounds like he's just pulling his fucking throat out and driving over it with a car while he's recording this album. It's just fucking diabolical and menacing as all fucking hell. This is a great album, and I really, really recommend picking this up. It's chunky. It's super riffy. It kind of sounds a lot like Unausprechlichen Kulten, if you're not familiar with that band. Get familiar with that band. So then they did an album on Dark Descent last year. This is Demonic Weapons Against the Sacred. Now, I'm all for that, but this album kind of underwhelmed me. Maybe it was the fact that I bought it right after this one came out, or I don't know. It just doesn't really have any of the elementary sort of flair to it that the Satantoton Demon record does. I probably should put this in again and give it another spin, but it just didn't really do a whole lot for me when I first got it in from Dark Descent. It's pretty good. It is a little bit more notable than a lot of the South American bands, but just when you've got an album like this, it's hard to live up to after it. So last, we've got a band that I fucking love. Diabolical Masquerade. Let's see. Is this the first one? I always kind of get confused because I didn't get these albums as they came out over the years. So we'll say this is the debut, Raven Dusk in My Heart. This band is so incredible. This is the solo project of Blackheim from Bewitched, Catatonia. He was also in Bloodbath. So, man, being able to juggle 4 projects at the same time is really incredible. And be able to maintain a nice standard of quality. This came out on Dicoria in 96. And Diabolical Masquerade, if you're not familiar, God, this just looks so fucking 90s. Could that look any more 90s? Man, that's just so cool. Dicoria also put out a lot of really interesting stuff that nobody probably remembers. Bands like Melech Tha and Neolithic and Akhenaten. They put out the first Evoken. Man, I love these. I love it when these old little tiny catalogs are put in with albums. Anyways, Diabolical Masquerade is this sort of theatrical, almost like operatic sort of black metal, and it's really pretty ballsy of him to start off with this kind of style back in 93, 94 or so. So like, who knows really what spurred on this project to be what it was. But he also worked with Dan Swano on these albums. So I don't think Dan Swano really gets the credit he deserves for doing for these albums what he did. Because you can just hear a lot of Dan Swano's production and drumming ideas, making Diabolical Masquerade exactly what it needed to be, and making Blackheim's vision come true. This is the probably second full length, called The Phantom Lodge. This also came out on Dicoria. Let's see, did I do that right? Yeah, this is the second full length, so I'm right for once. It's on a limited digipack, and so I got these albums I think on the same day, maybe 10 or 15 years ago. So I kind of have a hard time differentiating between the two. But Nightwork is an album that I got right when it came out back in 98, 99 or so. And this fucking album I listened to it nonstop. I actually listened to it until I got so sick of it that I got rid of it. And I actually just reacquired this copy of it a couple of months ago. This is Nightwork. I'm sure a lot of you guys are probably familiar with this. This, I think, is really the perfect moment in Diabolical Masquerade's discography. The songwriting is all totally memorable. It's impossible to not get these songs stuck in your head. And when you play it the second time around, or the third or the fourth, you'll be singing along, playing air guitar. It's just so theatrical and charismatic, and has so much personality to it that you just can't help but have these songs just embedded in your brain upon the first couple of rudimentary listens. So that's Nightwork. The last album he did came out a couple years later in 2001, and this is The Death's Design. I guess the concept behind it was that it was like a movie score for a movie that doesn't exist. But it doesn't really... I don't know. It's kind of a weird thing to listen to, and I guess I would say the only thing wrong with this album is that it's all one song. There's 61 tracks on this thing, and it's supposed to be like there's different movements to it all, and there's different chapters to the movements, and it's got a whole concept to it that I've never really sat down to try and listen to or figure out or whatnot. But it is a killer album. It's got a lot more of the theatrical sort of style to it, of course, since it's trying to be a movie soundtrack or whatever. But yeah, it's really its only downfall, and what makes it a little less great than Nightwork is that the ideas are a lot shorter as you get through the album. So it just kind of feels like it's a little bit more intense. It's a little bit more succinct in its ideas, and it doesn't have quite that amount of breathing room. When you like something, you don't really get a chance to really hear it enough to get that sort of decadent enjoyment of the album like Nightwork. So it's a little less song-oriented and a lot more just million ideas packed into one. And this is the last thing that Blackheim did under Diabolical Masquerade. So that is that. It came out on Avant-Garde in 2001 or so. That does it for this one. We'll see you next time. Thanks for joining me. Brainsmasher out.